Have you ever been to the hospital? I mean, I've had my share of bumps and bruises throughout the years, but imagine going to the hospital. Say you cut your arm open and there was just an open wound there and you really needed stitches or something to fix it up. And you go to the nurse and the nurse looks at you and says, "Oh boy, that looks like it hurts," and then proceeds to tell you a story about how they had a similar thing happen to them and how bad it hurt, and just wanted to kind of sympathize with you a little bit or tell you all about their story about how they got hurt in a similar way. And then after they told you the story and let you know that they related to your pain, they checked you out of the hospital and sent you home. How would you feel about that? You wouldn't feel like you got the best care at all, would you? No, when you go to the hospital, you want them to bandage up your wounds. You want them to look over you and make sure that area that is damaged is strong enough to live on its own outside of the hospital, and you want that to be kind of the care that you get. You don't just want to receive compassion or to feel comfortable with the person that you're talking to or the nurse that checks you in. You want to be strengthened. Today we're going to talk about that idea of strength. And in the NIV, this word strengthen is translated comforted or to be shown compassion. But really what this word means is comfort. You see, Paul knew a lot about struggling. Later on in the book of 2 Corinthians, he talks all about all his different struggles that he has faced being a Christian. And really, all of those struggles are much more harsh than anything I have experienced. But here's what we can learn from Paul. He went through the ringer, and God, while he was going through all of these pains and struggles and circumstances, God met him at every step of the way with comfort. God strengthened him enough so that he could endure whatever pain he was about to face. Let's go ahead and read our prayer passage for today. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all of our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. For just as the sufferings of Christ flow over into our lives, so also through Christ our comfort overflows. If we are distressed, it is for your comfort and salvation. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance of the same sufferings we suffer. And our hope for you is firm, because we know that just as you share in our sufferings, so you also share in our comfort. About a decade ago, my wife and I decided it was time for us to join a gym. You see, my physique was looking a lot more like Bob the Tomato than Larry the Cucumber. I was out of shape. Now, when we signed up to be a part of that gym, it came with a free fitness assessment. And the physical trainer came out and went through all these different exercises that we needed to do in order to be in shape. Now imagine if that fitness instructor came out and was smoking a cigarette and was a few hundred pounds overweight and was unable to actually walk to us. They were just sitting in a chair and they said, "Come on over here, I need to fill out this form for you." And then when they asked us to do activities, they could not actually do the activities. They just had to describe them with their words. After doing a few of those different exercises, I would start to question whether or not this person was equipped to give me a physical assessment, let alone train me to become physically fit. This is because I would make the assumption that this person wasn't actually putting these different practices into practice themselves. I would get pretty concerned. Now, Paul, in this passage, he talks about that he has been comforted by God. that he was depressed, he was on the brink of death, he was in an emotional and physical state in which he wanted to die. But God, in the midst of that situation, he was able to comfort Paul so that he can give comfort to other people. He has experienced it, he has been through it, and he wants to share it with the rest of us. Let's read the first part of this passage once again. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all of our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. Have you ever been to a state fair or an amusement park where they had carnival games? Now, I like to play carnival games, but I'm such a cheapskate, I don't actually like to play them at the carnival. You see, you pay $1 or $2 over and over again to play games that I believe are rigged. Now, one of those carnival games is, it's set up kind of like this, where you take a squirt gun and you have to squirt the water into a hole, and then behind the hole you see a bunch of race cars that are racing to the finish. And you have 5 or 6 people that are trying to squirt the water into the hole in order to make their car go faster and faster, and then the person who wins the race wins a prize. Now, what I love about that game, just like any race, is the cars start to inch in front of each other one by one. One goes faster, and then another person starts squirting the water a little bit more, and it goes up, and then all of a sudden you just have this kind of action going back and forth. One goes farther, and then the other one matches it. In our passage for today, Paul talks about God's love being the same way, where God's comfort for us, or God's ability to strengthen us, matches the situations that we are put in or put ourselves in. Where God might put us in a situation that's an extremely difficult situation, but His love and His compassion and His grace and His mercy and His comfort or His strengthening rises up to meet that. Check out how Paul describes this back and forth action. For just as the sufferings of Christ flow over into our lives, so also through Christ our comfort overflows. If we are distressed, it is for our comfort and salvation. I'm sure you've heard the common saying, no pain, no gain. But it is kind of true. If you have ever been involved in any type of endurance sport, or any type of sport for that matter, you know that when you first start conditioning, your muscles start to rip a little bit. And a day or two after your first workout, you feel a significant amount of pain. Now, there are ways to alleviate that pain a little bit, like the day after you work out, to work out those same muscles in order to get the lactic acid out of your system. But you are still going to experience some type of pain as those muscles start to get stronger and bigger and grow to where they can lift more weights, they can do things faster. This is the no pain, no gain concept. Well, in this passage, it's very similar. See, Paul looks forward to the times in which he's going to be distressed, because he knows that when he is distressed, there is going to be something that is gained from it. He is going to receive a comfort from God that comes up to meet the level of his distress. And Paul, since he's seen God show up in his times of distress over and over again, he looks forward to the times that God's going to show up once again. Because if God has shown up once, if God has shown up twice, if He has shown up multiple times, it is something that we start to look forward to rather than something that we get stressed out about. Check out how Paul finishes off this chapter. If we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which produces in you patient endurance for the same sufferings we suffer. And our hope for you is firm, because we know that just as you share in our sufferings, so also you share in our comfort. For our anniversary this year, my wife decided to try her hand at a white chocolate blueberry cheesecake. When I bit into that cheesecake, it was like heaven come to earth. I can't explain everything that was going on in my mouth. It was like fireworks were exploding and every single thing in my brain was lighting up because it was so delicious. So after I took that first bite, there were two things that went through my head. One, I wanted to share it with everyone in my entire family. Two, I wanted to keep it all to myself. In this passage for today, Paul also has a choice. You see, when he experiences suffering and the comfort that rises up to meet his suffering, he can either take that secret and hold it in and say, oh, no. You don't want to try anything hard because it's going to be hard. Or he can share that with everybody and say, you know what? You do not know what you're in for. If you suffer, if you face distress, if you are put in a situation that's just troubling, God's comfort will come up to meet you. And in that moment, you will be able to see God, you will be able to experience God, and that's something that I want for you. So he has the choice. Does he warn them that stressful situations are going to be stressful? Or does he encourage them by saying, you know what? Yes, there's going to be pain in this life. There's going to be trouble. There's going to be situations that are frustrating. But you know what? In those situations is when you meet God. So in this passage, he's encouraging them. He's saying God is going to be your comforter. He is the Lord of compassion. He is gracious and he is merciful. And when you face trouble, he will rise up to meet you, and you will see God in the midst of it. So these are his final words. If you share in the sufferings of Christ, you will also share in his comfort. The two go hand in hand. And where there is suffering, God is there. And where there is his comfort, God is also